everyone, I'm meteorologist Joe Murgo. It's Wednesday. It's time for another edition of That's Cool, where I talk about things that hopefully afterwards you sit there and go, oh, that's pretty cool. And sometimes I talk about websites that can help you out, enjoy things. And sometimes I talk about gadgets. And today I'm going to be talking about this. It is the Alpha-Stim. It is a neat gadget that could be used for two purposes. One, just like a physical therapist, when they apply some electrical nodes to you to help reduce pain and help your pain receptors, it could be used for that. And it also could be used for anxiety, depression, insomnia. Now, I don't sleep well. My wife will tell you that. And all you do is you would clip it on, and I'm doing this live on the air, so here we go. And you set an electrical current, and I'm going to let this run a little bit while I am talking to you. And let me turn it up just a little bit. And it is sending a pulse that is going through parts of your brain, and it has a calming effect. Now, if you turn this up too high, you can get a bit queasy. There's very good instructions. I'm going to have a link in this story on this. But it's not, and it was explained to me by a doctor how we don't have it's not how much electricity you can put up with. It's something that you tolerate over time. It's a built-in effect. So let's go ahead and talk to a doctor who can explain the science behind this Alpha-Stim. And joining me right now is Dr. Haltingwinger, I hope I got that right, who is going to tell us more about the Alpha-Stim and what it does and a little bit more of the science behind it.
Absolutely. Alpha-Stim is a technology I started using in 1989 in my medical practice, and I've been very satisfied with it over those years for people that wanted to other approach to anxiety, insomnia, depression, and pain with medications. And I had a practice in psychiatry, did some neurology, but mostly it was psychiatry. And I had a very busy hospital-based practice. And so I was always being pulled hither and yon.
I have that feeling. And so you found this way, and tell us a little bit about what it does.
Well, Alpha-Stim sends a very small electrical signal into the brain. It uses the conductive pathways of the nervous tissue that come out of the brain, and then the brain will have pathways that send signals into the brain and send signals out from the brain. So you have a two-way street. And so it will take advantage of that two-way street, and it will send pathways or signals back into the brain, and it goes up from the bottom of the brain through what they call the midbrain and the pons and the limbic system, and then covers the rest of the brain too. And what this does is it helps resynchronize the brain activity.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, what people don't realize is our brain works off of electricity in the first place, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. And so what are, I have to ask, what made you want to do this, put electricity in the brain?
I didn't invent it. A guy named Daniel L. Kirsch invented it. He's a very brilliant doctor. And he was studying pain control. And you have to go back 30, 40 years. And they were trying to figure out how to get pain under control. And they found that they could rapidly do it with the Alpha-Stim technology. And so he's been testing Alpha-Stim on different types of people and different conditions, and they found that it had some wonderful results on anxiety, insomnia, depression, as well as the pain.
And I tried it for all of those. And I will tell you, and I'll show a video. You clip it to your ears, and you feel it. And there's a warning that you when you turn it up, you'll hit a point and you'll feel woozy for a little bit. But that's normal, right?
Oh, well, it's like anything else. It's like if you're thirsty, how much water do you want to drink at a time? I mean, you can go get you a glass of water, you put your mouth up to a fire hose. Might be a little bit more than you want at that moment with the fire hose.
And I do, and I felt it, and it does. I will say it does have a bit of a calming feel. Now, I'm someone, I drive my wife nuts. I'm someone who I'm constantly wired and moving and thinking and everything like that. And there's a lot of different relaxation techniques I've tried. And I'm like, oh, give me relaxation now. But when you're you can function normally while you're using the computer and everything with this.
Well, as a psychiatrist, I would have to say somebody like you is what we call a good luck.
Gee, thanks.
I had to pick on you a little bit.
So yeah, and I would do that, and I found that it did help some. And and for someone like me, you're not going to be surprised. I do have sometimes trouble sleeping, and I'd like to do something without medication to put me to sleep. And I did find that to help some.
It works best when it's done consistently. About 80% or more will respond. What we call it, what it has is a dosage curve. And so basically, instead of using a medication, you're using an amount of charge. How much charge can you put into the body? Well, people will tolerate charge at different levels. And one thing I'm constantly telling them, I don't want you to overcharge yourself before you build up with this, because when you get like too tight, or that's not the right word I want to use, you get too much at one time, I don't like that. I got a little headache, or it may be tense. You want to balance out. So I tell people, use it at a comfort level. Don't worry about how fast it's going to take you, but use it at the most comfortable level you can.
So in other words, use patience, something
Yes.
I also lack. Yeah, and this is used for that. And if someone wanted to use it, and we're going to do this for anxiety, insomnia, depression, how do they give this a try? Do they have to go to their doctor and ask for it? I mean, this is not just something you could pick up on the open market, right?
It is a prescription device, but it is money back guaranteed if somebody wants to purchase one, and they get it and they don't like it, they will get their money back. And since they've been in business for many years, over millions of people have used it, we're pretty comfortable that most people are going to like the technology. Yeah. It's been a wonderful benefit to everybody where I work, because it's interesting. You work at a company, and half the staff is working around getting brain stimulation during the day.
And so if I would go to my family doctor and asked, would they understand and they'd be able to prescribe this for me then?
It's possible. We're getting a lot better, better media attention now than we did when we started. We're not a huge company. We don't have like a multi-billion-dollar TV programs, and so if you have this condition, take this medication. I've looked at the medications coming out on the market, and just the last two of them were both $1,200 a month for the supply. I'm like, wow. Yeah, really?
Yeah. Well, and there's always disclaimers for everything. So you say there's no lasting side effects with this?
No, we have transient effects that, you might get a headache, you might get a little dizzy. I have a philosophy: go low, go slow. And it's like, hey, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We're not trying to figure out how hard you can how much electricity you can handle at a time. What we're looking for is how to get you in balance. And sometimes people just need a little bit. We have your ultra fast responders. 1 or 2 times they're going like, oh my God, my life is so different. Then we have other people that go like, well, it's about 6 weeks. Yeah, I started noticing stuff. So people are all over the place. But most people will not notice within a couple of weeks a beneficial effect.
Okay. All right. Now let's go to the pain side of it. So I tried it for the anxiety, insomnia, and depression. I will tell you, just as I tried this out, I had a bout of pain in my hip. And I'm like, okay, this is timely. And I started using it. And I will tell you, for me, the results were the same as if I would take, a painkiller. So for me, I'd rather do that than take a painkiller. So what was it doing to help out?
Well, what happens with different conditions is the body uses pain as one thing as a signaling mechanism to say, hey, pay attention, something's going on there. And so people are designed to pay attention to that pain. And so that's the warning sign. The last thing you want to do is just, you just got shot in the gut, but don't worry, just keep running. That's not what you do. You go get help.
Yeah.
So pain is a warning. Now, unfortunately, when pain persists, it can become a problem in itself, is that the warning has passed, but now you still have the pain because there's an underlying condition that needs to be addressed. And that's where medical doctors come in, can be helpful or problematic at that point. Okay. Sometimes it's not effective to do certain types of surgery. I remember my practice, I'd have 4 or 5 people. I've had people with 4 or 5 back surgeries, never got any better.
Yeah.
It's one back surgery after another.
So how does this help with then the warning signal pain? How does the Alpha-Stim, because I do know physical therapy, they use something very similar to this.
Oh, it works very well because first off, Alpha-Stim can be very effective every time you use it for pain. You can reduce the amount of pain that you're having almost every single use. It's a recurrent thing. What happens, is when you are in pain for a long period of time, your sensory nerves and parts of your brain that regulate pain start giving out signals that, hey, this pain is a lot worse than we thought it was. And so here we're going to start stimulating. And so all of a sudden, something that's minor that would have been ignored now is manifested as a very painful syndrome. And so we have a lot of that conditioning take place. So we don't want to train the body that you're gonna have pain like this. When train the body, you can have pain, but then you can get over the pain.
Okay. And that's what that electric current helps out.
Yes, it's called desensitization.
Okay. Now I did notice it did help out for my hip. Now I also have a very weird situation where I had a nerve issue in my lip, and different results did not help with that nerve issue, and nothing has helped this nerve issue. So don't get me wrong. I mean, we've been through all medication too. Well, so are there different kinds of pain that it can help and can't help with?
It's more location. It's you haven't gotten the right location of a place to put the device on to give you the best response. And I know about 12 different ways of approaching a painful spot because I've been doing it for 31 years. And so, we can try this or try that, try this. Most of the time, the simplest ways work really well. Just anatomically, you go in there and you're going to bracket the pain. But sometimes you'll get something that's an entrapment syndrome. And so your pain is due to the fact that there's a position of a nerve that's out of place and you're moving the wrong way. And, it hurts. So, sometimes you have to do something about that.
So when someone has this and if they got the Alpha-Stim, is there a way of getting help in figuring out where to position things best for you?
Well, there are skills that you acquire. There are skill sets. I've gotten literally thousands of people out of pain. And so sometimes I'll get something like, I don't think I can do anything. And then 30 seconds later, I'm like, wow, I can tell you something simple, Trips. Dehydration. If you are dehydrated, you won't get a good response. So the first thing I do is I'll make sure they drink a quart of water. I just make sure they drink a quart of water. Second thing is, if I want to go a little further, is I'll give a little bit of sea salt, and a quarter teaspoon of sea salt, and put that in the water. Let them drink that.
To help the conduction.
That helps the conduction.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure, because in the skin, electrical conduction is carried by charged particles. In the device is carried by the electrons in the batteries and in the wiring. But once it hits the skin, those electrons are carried by charged particles, which mostly consist of minerals. And so, I just want to take advantage of the fact that the body has certain properties that make it more conductive or less conductive. And so those two things, I want to get those out of the way. And you'd be surprised how many people that didn't respond, and 20 minutes later, like, yeah, I'm out of pain.
Huh. Yeah. And I must have, for me, I must have found the perfect combination. And I did it a lot of times after I exercised on my hip, which means there was salt water on my skin, and I know there's a solution. So maybe that's why that worked and the other one didn't work quite as well too. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yep. So if someone's interested in this, what should they do?
Well, I would talk to my family. Because you want to get their support, and there's information available, alpha-stim.com. So you want to look at the original Alpha-Stim website. It's alpha with a hyphen .stim.com.
And I'll have a link in our story on that. Yep.
Okay. And that way you read there's over 100 studies, getting probably closer to 150. And so we have studies that are done by doctors all over the world, and we don't pay for the studies pretty much. What we do is we get somebody contacting us, say, I've got these people with headaches, and they had, this kind of a motorcycle accident, and we want to see if they'll respond to. And so we simply make sure that they have a good study that's, going to be scientific, and we simply loan them the equipment, and then we don't have any control over what happens.
Yep.
And so most of our sales in the United States are to the U.S. military and into the into the VA hospital system. And they spend a lot of time checking out the company before they purchase their first bit of equipment.
All right. That is very interesting to know, too. And last question I have before I'll give you an open book to finish off here. Will insurance cover this?
In some cases, yes. Not always. We're getting more and more acceptance now than we did a few years ago. And I think it has to do with the fact that the prices have been pretty stable for a long time. They've been found to be very effective. There's been millions of users. And, the companies that pay for this, look back and, giving this medication for a month, and we spent more than they would ever use with this technology in 5 years. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add for this?
No, I appreciate you being available and helping us with getting the message across. It's a wonderful company. They got a strong value system, and they take care of its people.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm always interested in different, new, cool things that can help people out, and I will say this definitely fit in that category. So
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And I'm back in the studio, and while that was running, I was still running the Alpha-Stim, and I do find it has a little bit of a calming sensation. So thank you, Dr. Halterwinger, who gave that interview with me about the unit. Now, overall, I think it's pretty easy to use. As the doctor explained, you need to be consistent with it. I found it helps my hip pain a good bit. As for insomnia, it's hard to judge. I think it helped, but I don't know. But it's a very interesting thing. So you may, if you're interested, I would definitely talk to a medical expert, your doctor, about this and see if this is something that could help you out. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you have some anxieties, or if you have chronic pain, this could be something to help out. Now, if you have anything cool that you want me to talk about on another episode of That's Cool, go ahead and email it to me at murgo@wtajtv.com. I still have some other gadgets I have to talk about, some websites, and I even found something really interesting on a little trip when I was doing some leaf peeping. No, it doesn't have to do with the leaves. I found something else, and I'll share with that with you on a new episode of That's Cool.